Well, hello, my name is Sampson, and this is Speaking Pakistani Pukhto, Session 6, and today we're talking about listening well. I hope you've had some success using your first power phrases, and maybe you've begun to wrestle with the sounds of Pukhto. Did you notice something as you start to listen to Pukhto that suddenly you go deaf? Do you know what I mean? There are whole groups of new sounds that you can't even hear properly. The rhythms and the stress patterns of the speech seem kind of weird, foreign. And your ears begin to play tricks with you. They make you think that the sounds in Pushto are the same as the native language that you speak. Or maybe that you're speaking really great Pushto, but nobody's understanding you.
Je m'appelle Claude.
Je découpe plow.
Let's try it again.
Okay.
Je m'appelle Claude.
Je déplie mlou.
All right, let's just try it again.
Okay.
Really listen.
Got it.
Je m'appelle Claude.
Je te floop flee.
Oh, mon Dieu.
Oh, de fouf.
Is that you? If so, do not panic. It's totally normal. Today we're going to talk about the essential skill needed to tune your ears. Listening. All communication starts with good listening, and Pushto is no exception. Today I'm going to share with you 6 tips that will help you listen well. Here's what to expect, the good news. When you've listened enough, Pushto suddenly makes sense to you. All the unfamiliar jumble of sounds and rhythms and stress that you previously had no idea what it was, suddenly you're able to catch the words. And I remember years ago, I was walking past a mosque in Swat one afternoon, and suddenly for the first time I actually could hear Pushto. And that's our target today, is to help you to learn to hear quickly by really good listening. Before we begin, you will need one piece of essential software, listening software. It's the wonderful media player called VLC. It's the best kept secret amongst language learners worldwide. Download it here and learn the videos that teach you how to use it well. With it you can slow things down, you can do repetition loops and all kinds of other tricks that really help you focus in on learning. It's free and fantastic. Okay, so here goes my 6 top tips for listening well. You'll notice as we go through that all of these are active listening steps. They're tools that involve you putting quite a lot of effort and energy in. It's not just passive listening that washes over you. And putting that extra effort in is the way in which it really cements things in your mind. So 6 tips. Number 1, parroting. Don't you just love it when babies babble? They parrot random sounds that they've heard during the day. It doesn't make much sense to you, or to them perhaps, but that babbling repetition is the key to their later becoming really good speakers. So, parroting. 3 methods that work really well in parroting. One is tap it out. Yeah, you're in a Pushtun wedding for the first time and there's just a lot of talk going on, and it seems to you like it's such a waste of time. You're not understanding a word of what's happening. You can use that time very productively to listen well. And one of the tricks is to start tapping the stress of the sound quietly with your fingers, or tapping it with your foot as you hear the rhythm. It's like the beat to the music. A recent study, a PhD study, showed that there's a remarkable link between being able to feel the rhythm of the speech and eventually speaking it well. So tap it out. A second way to parrot is that old traditional method of repetition. Fantastic. You may get bored with repetition though, especially it's best to do it with a helper, but you may get bored or embarrassed to keep on having to do it. So use some of the electronic methods. VLC is really good at this, making loops. You can also use Anki and the brand new Speaking Pakistani Pukhto app that you can download. You can also use that to repeat sentences again and again. Don't forget, repetition is your friend. The third wonderful method for parroting I call voice over, rather like dubbing, speaking over the Pukhto at the same time as it's going. This is in some ways the ultimate parrot method.
So what do you want to do? Whoa, that's crazy. Man, we've been spending way too much time together.
So all you have to do for this method is find your audio that you're listening to. Maybe you're already quite familiar with it. Put on your headphones and then play that short audio track of the sentence or whatever you've learned and try to say it exactly at the same time, speed and intonation as what you're listening to. You'll find it works incredible. Really hard to do to start with. You think you'll never manage it, but actually it's going to be fantastic for you. Okay, so that's parroting. Secondly, what I call grab and go. Remember, we're doing active listening, and a second method for listening well is to harvest material, decide just one word or one phrase from a given section of audio, video, or live speech. Don't be too ambitious. Keep a little notebook, write down your new treasure, maybe cut out the audio and put it somewhere else. We'll talk about that later. Decode it so you know what it means, that makes sense to you. Put it in your store of new Pukhto. Every time you learn a new word or a new phrase, it's like adding another brick to a wall. Pretty soon, you'll have a whole building, trust me. So we talked about parroting and grab and go. The next method is really helpful. I call it slowing down. It's a fact that it's absolutely the best thing to do is to listen to full speed, natural spoken language. That way your comprehension will really soar. If your teacher or your helper or the people you're with start to slow down the Pukhto, then eventually it'll really damage you as far as comprehension because it's not the way people normally speak. So for example, here is an English sentence, slowly and normal speed. See what the difference is, and you'll see what I mean.
Don't you want to get a coffee later? And then we squish it all together when we speak, and it becomes, don't you want to get a coffee later?
But when you're listening to normal, high-speed spoken language, it's kind of really hard sometimes to separate out the words and so on. So one trick is to use VLC to slow down any section that you're having trouble deciphering. It's fantastically useful. Slow it down, break it down, decode it, and then gradually put it back to normal speed again, and you'll be able to say that again. Sometimes there are clusters of consonants, a K and a KH. Put those two together, and it's very difficult to say those. When you slow it down, you'll see how the pattern goes and then put it together after you practice. Marvelous. Method number four for listening well is dictation. Does that surprise you? That's like a Victorian method, Rob. Well, it's a much neglected skill in really listening well. And all you need to do dictation, you can just do this by yourself, is to have audio and text already ready to go. You don't have to make anything. Have something that's ready to go. You could take a section from Speaking Pakistani Pukhto. Then you just play the audio from that section without looking at the text. On a piece of paper, try and write down whether you're learning phonetics, or whether you're learning the Pushto script. It works equally well. And then go back and check yourself and see how you did. The marvelous thing about dictation is you'll quickly discover the sounds that you missed, or the miscommunication that you're not really listening to. So it's a way of pinpointing your weaknesses to help you work on them. Fantastically helpful. Dictation, number 4. The first 4 methods that we've talked about for good listening have all been, you're able to do all of them by yourself. The next method, number 5, is to get a helper. Find someone who's bilingual in Pushto, who's got lots of time and is excited to help you become good at learning Pushto. I'm just going to mention 3 ways here. There are many others as well, but here are 3 that are quick and very good to help with listening. The first is to use minimal pairs. That is, words that have one or other of 2 difficult sounds that you're having trouble differentiating. We talked about that in the last physio, and you can get your helper to show you to say the word, and then you choose one of the 2 options. These pairs are scattered throughout the textbook, Speaking Pakistani Pukhto. So figure out how to help someone get you to use that method. Another way you can train a helper is what I call picture games. In the 1900s in England, there was a change in the method of language learning that has been used ever since in different ways. It's sometimes called the direct method or the natural teaching method. Berlitz School of Language adopted it in the 1970s. More recently, a method called GPA has become exceedingly popular. It's very good for getting you to quickly learn new vocabulary without even having to speak. A good teacher would just use visuals or drama or things, words, pictures of words and phrases that you are going to learn, and you can train them to become excellent at just speaking those naturally, hearing, picking up the thing that you think it is. It works for phrases, idioms, meanings without translation.
And here a kite. Where is a kite? Where is a kite? Please put this kite on a desk. On a desk.
One little warning I would give about it: sometimes these the lists of words are given for people who are using picture games, a kind of a standard set of words. Many of those standard sets are not particularly useful for Pushto. Like, it's got giraffe, zebra, and other things are just not suitable. So if you want to use picture games, make it tie in with the text that you're using. You can just, like, each chapter that you're working on, say Speaking Pakistani Pukhto, just quickly look through what are the concrete nouns, some of the adjectives that are possible, or other things that you're trying to do, and then download some images from the internet and make some cards, and then start working on it. It's a great method to use amongst many. The third way to get a helper to teach you is to make them become a drill sergeant.
तैयार شيء आराम شيء تيار شيء توبك ونسي خبا جيغا كري لا جيب كري لا سوخوازوي.
Then what happens is a really good teacher can give you more and more complex commands. The TPR, total physical response, works for this reason that your physical action is then tied with the context of what you're hearing, and so you hear it better because there's a little bit of tension about what you're supposed to do. And note, in minimal pairs, picture games, and TPR, initially, no translation. Everything in push-to, and that's what helps you. And the sixth method is a little bit different. I call it fun videos. The final tool to help you listen well is to use context-rich videos. That's a video where the drama and the action is closely linked with what people are saying.
فریدی ستا خبرې هغه ته نه ورځي دا واپس ورکه کنه دا واپس ورکه دا آدم خان ته مو ورکوه د هغه نه خوښیږي مونږ یې سمین جان ته ورکوو نه دا واپس ورکه
Doesn't have to be long sections, but something where you already kind of know the story is helpful. Cartoons are really good. Dubbing of funny videos like Mr. Bean is really good because you can kind of anticipate what he might be saying. Short, fun stuff that you really like is helpful too. Anything that's high in context. But don't listen to like the news where the guys, it's just like a talking head. You've got no idea what they're talking about. There's no context. It'll put you to sleep and it's not really good listening. You're motivated to listen well where you kind of like, okay, I know what they're saying. How do they say that? It clicks somehow. So there you have it. 6 different methods for listening well. And just a reminder, you may be thinking to yourself, wow, Rob, that's a lot of methods already. Yes, because language learning is rather like playing a musical instrument like the rebab. We need to play lots of different strings to get that beautiful resonant sound working together, get the melody. If we just play one string, just use one method, we're missing out on all the other things. So play lots of things, see what works for you, major on the melody and rhythms that are most effective for you. See you next time when we're going to talk about how to get out and about using your brand new Pukhto with new friends. See you next time.